Revenge lives in the little moments. The slight curve of my mother's smile when she looks at my brother Ryan. The way my father's shoulders straighten with pride whenever Ryan enters the room. The casual dismissal in their eyes when they look at me. If they look at me at all. I'm Kylie, and I've spent 24 years being the family's afterthought. Today, though, everything changed. I was restocking shelves at my grandfather Tom's bookstore when I heard them through the thin wall of his office. My parents' voices discussing the future of this place like they owned it. Ryan needs this opportunity, Linda. The bookstore's prime location would be perfect for his business venture. My father's voice carried that familiar tone of absolute certainty. But what about Tom? And Kylie? She practically lives here. At least my mother remembered I existed. Tom's getting older. He'll understand this is for the best. And Kylie? Well, she needs to find a real career anyway. This isn't a long-term solution. My hands trembled as I gripped the book I was holding. The leather-bound cover dug into my palms, its familiar scent of aged paper suddenly suffocating. Ryan's business plan is solid, my mother said. He's always been so good with money. I almost laughed out loud. If only they knew about the credit card statements I'd discovered last week while helping Sophia organise their home office. But Ryan's wife had begged me to keep quiet, her eyes wide with fear and something else. Shame, maybe, or resignation. "We'll talk to Tom next week," my father declared. "The sooner we get this sorted, the better for everyone." I stepped back from the wall, my mind racing. The bookstore wasn't just some property to be traded away. It was my sanctuary, the only place where I felt truly seen. Grandfather Tom had built this place from nothing, curating every section with care and wisdom. Now they wanted to tear it all down for Ryan's latest scheme. The bell above the door chimed, and Ryan himself walked in, all confident smiles and designer suits. "Hey, sis, is Dad here? I thought I saw his car outside." I stared at my brother, seeing him clearly for the first time. The perfectly styled hair, the expensive watch, the practiced charm, all of it built on lies and our parents' blind devotion. "They're in the office," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. "Planning your next big success, I assume?" He caught something in my tone, his smile faltering for just a moment. "You okay, Kylie? You seem tense." "I'm fine." I shelved the book with deliberate care. "Just thinking about the future. You should come work for me when my new business opens," he offered, so casually generous. "I could use someone detail-oriented like you." The irony was almost beautiful. He had no idea I knew about his mounting debts, or that his last two ventures had failed spectacularly. No idea that I'd been quietly documenting everything, building my case piece by piece. "Thanks, but I'm happy here," I said, watching him head toward the office. As he disappeared inside, I heard the murmur of excited voices, the familiar sound of my family planning my life without me. I pulled out my phone and texted Sophia. "We need to talk. Tonight." The response came quickly. "Please don't tell them. Ryan says this time will be different." I looked at the shelves around me, at the legacy my grandfather had built, at my own dreams taking root here. Then I glanced toward the office, where my family was probably already dividing the spoils. This time would be different, all right. Just not in the way they expected. The family dinner table had always been a battlefield, but tonight the tension could slice through steel. Mother had outdone herself, serving Ryan's favourite pot roast on her best china, while father poured the expensive wine he'd been saving. All for my brother's big announcement. I pushed my food around the plate, watching Sophia fidget with her napkin. She hadn't touched her wine. "So," Ryan cleared his throat, commanding attention like he always did. "The business plan is complete. We're looking at a prime location downtown, right in the heart of everything." "That's wonderful, sweetheart," Mother beamed. "Mark, didn't I tell you Ryan would make something of himself?" I set down my fork with a quiet clink. "What exactly is this business, Ryan?" He flashed that practiced smile. "It's a tech startup. We're developing an app that will revolutionize the way people shop locally. Like the social media platform you tried last year." The words slipped out before I could stop them. Sophia's hand tightened around her water glass. Father's expression darkened. That was different, Ryan said smoothly. This time we have serious investors interested. Actually, that's why we needed to discuss the bookstore. I just got the quarterly numbers from Grandfather Tom, I interrupted. The bookstore's doing better than ever. We're up 15% from last year. Mother waved her hand dismissively. Darling, that's wonderful, but it's such a small operation. Ryan's talking about real business here. Real business? I tasted the words like bitter medicine. Like the 3 credit cards he maxed out last year? The room went silent. Sophia's face drained of colour. Kylie! Father's voice carried that familiar warning tone. That's enough. No, it's not enough. I pulled out my phone, hands steady despite my racing heart. Would you like to see the statements? Or maybe we should talk about the second mortgage on Ryan and Sophia's house? Ryan's charm cracked. You've been going through our personal information. Someone had to. I met his gaze. Before you convince them to throw away Grandfather's legacy on another one of your schemes. That's not fair, Mother interjected. Your brother is trying to build something important. All you do is hide in that dusty old store. I don't hide, I work. I've built something too. But you've never once asked about it, have you? Father stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. This is exactly why we worry about you, Kylie. This bitterness, this jealousy. Jealousy? I laughed, the sound sharp and foreign. I'm not jealous, I'm terrified. You're going to let him destroy everything Grandfather built because you can't see past your golden boy's smile. You don't understand business, Ryan snapped. The bookstore's just sitting there, wasting prime real estate. It's not yours to waste, my voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. And neither is Sophia's inheritance, but that didn't stop you, did it? The room froze. Mother's fork clattered against her plate. What inheritance? Father asked slowly. Sophia stood up abruptly, her chair toppling backward. I need some air. She fled the room, leaving behind the heavy scent of her perfume and the weight of unspoken truths. Ryan's face had turned an interesting shade of grey. That was private information between my wife and me. Like the business loan application you forged her signature on? Mother pressed her hands to her temples. Ryan, what is she talking about? Nothing, he said quickly. She's making things up because she's jealous of my success. What success? I pulled out another document from my bag. Show them your real business plan, Ryan. Show them how you're planning to use Grandfather's store as collateral for a loan you know you can't repay. The silence that followed was deafening. I stood up, my appetite long gone. I'm not trying to hurt anyone, I said softly. I'm trying to stop us from losing everything, but you all need to wake up and see what's really happening. As I walked out, I heard Mother starting to cry and Father demanding explanations, but it was the sound of Ryan's chair scraping back that made me hurry. I had more evidence at home, more proof of his deceptions. This was just the beginning. Grandfather Tom's hands shook as he read through the loan documents I'd discovered. The morning light filtered through the bookstore's dusty windows, casting shadows across his weathered face. He forged Sophia's signature. His voice carried a weight I'd never heard before. And that's not all. I spread out the rest of the papers across his desk. Look at these projections for his new business. The numbers don't add up. He's promising investors impossible returns. Tom removed his reading glasses, rubbing his temples. Does Ryan know you have these? The bell above the door chimed. Through the office window, I watched Sophia enter the store, her designer purse clutched tight against her chest. She looked like she hadn't slept. I'll handle this, I told Tom, squeezing his shoulder before stepping out to meet her. We need to talk, Sophia said, her voice barely above a whisper. Ryan's meeting with the bank today. He's going to try to use the store as collateral. My stomach clenched. He can't. He doesn't own it. He has papers showing your parents' intent to purchase and letters from potential buyers. She glanced around nervously. He's desperate, Kylie. After what you revealed at dinner? The store's phone rang, interrupting us. Tom answered it in his office, and I watched his face darken. It's your father, he called out. They're on their way here. Ryan's with them. Sophia's hands started trembling. I should go. Stay. I caught her arm. You need to tell them everything about the inheritance, the forged signatures, all of it. I can't. Tears welled in her eyes. He's my husband. I love him. Then help me stop him before he destroys himself and everyone else. The bell chimed again. Ryan strode in first, followed by our parents. He wore his most expensive suit, the one he saved for important meetings. Mother's eyes were red-rimmed, but her chin was lifted in that familiar stubborn angle. What are you doing here? Ryan demanded, seeing Sophia. The same thing I'm doing, I said, stepping between them. Trying to save this family from your lies. Father moved forward, his face tight with anger. Enough! Tom, we need to discuss the sale. Ryan has buyers lined up who... I'm not selling. Tom's voice carried across the store, firm and clear. And I never planned to. Mother's composure cracked. But we discussed this. Ryan needs to face reality, I cut in, pulling out the documents. Look at these, Father. Really look. The forged signatures, the cooked books, the lies about investors. Ryan lunged for the papers, but Sophia moved faster, snatching them away. Tell them the truth, she pleaded, about everything, please. You're all against me, Ryan snarled. You've always been jealous, Kylie, and now you've turned my own wife. I turned no one. Your actions did that. I met his gaze steadily. The bank called this morning, didn't they? That's why you're here. They found problems with your loan application. The colour drained from his face. Is this true? Father asked, his voice dangerously quiet. Before Ryan could answer, the bell chimed one more time. Olivia, Sophia's cousin, walked in carrying a thick folder. I brought what you asked for, she said to Sophia. The records from the investment account your grandmother left you, the one that's been emptied. Mother sank into a nearby chair. Father grabbed the folder, his hands shaking as he opened it. I was trying to build something, Ryan said, his voice cracking. To make you proud, to be worthy of... Of what? I asked softly. Their love? You already had that. All of it. Always. The silence that followed felt like glass about to shatter. I watched my brother's carefully constructed world crumbling around him, and for the first time, I felt no satisfaction, only a deep, aching sadness for what we'd all lost. There's more, Sophia whispered, reaching into her purse, and you all need to see it. The morning light grew stronger, illuminating the dust motes dancing between us like tiny stars falling from orbit. In that moment, I realized there would be no going back from what came next, only through. The envelope Sophia pulled from her purse landed on the counter with a weight that seemed to pull all the oxygen from the room. Inside were more documents, not copies, but originals, bank statements, legal papers, and photographs. I found these in Ryan's office safe last night, she said, her voice barely steady, after everyone left the dinner. Ryan's face went from pale to ashen. Those are private. Private like the trust fund you emptied, I asked, spreading out the papers. Or private like the shell company you created in Grandfather's name? Father snatched up one of the documents, his reading glasses trembling as he adjusted them. This can't be right. These signatures are forgeries, Olivia finished. All of them. I had them verified this morning. Mother stood frozen, one hand pressed against her chest. Ryan, tell them this isn't true. Tell them. What choice did I have? Ryan's voice cracked like thin ice. You always expected so much. Excellence, success, the perfect son carrying on the family legacy. By stealing it? I couldn't keep the bitterness from my voice. By destroying everything Grandfather built? I was trying to save it. He slammed his fist on the counter, making us all jump. The bookstore's barely breaking even. E-commerce is killing retail. I could have transformed this place into something sustainable. That's not true. Tom's quiet voice cut through Ryan's justifications. Show them the real numbers, Kylie. I pulled out the store's financial reports, the actual ones, not the doctored versions Ryan had been showing our parents. We're not just surviving, we're growing. Local author events, rare book acquisitions, community programs, all your little projects, Ryan sneered. Playing shopkeeper while I tried to build something real. Real? Sophia's laugh held no humour. Like the investment properties that don't exist? Or the startup companies that are just empty offices with your name on the lease? The photographs spilled across the counter. Empty storefronts, vacant lots, abandoned buildings, all supposedly assets in Ryan's business empire. Father sat heavily in one of the reading chairs. How much? He asked. How much did you take? Everything, Sophia whispered. My inheritance, the business loans, the second mortgage. He even tried to leverage Tom's property using forged power of attorney documents. The silence that followed felt like a physical presence, heavy and suffocating. I watched my brother, my confident golden boy brother, seem to shrink before our eyes. I can fix this, he said, but his voice had lost its usual certainty. I just need more time. Another chance. There are no more chances, Olivia cut in. The bank's fraud department is already investigating. They'll be here any minute. The bell above the door chimed again. But instead of bank officials, it was Detective Sarah Chen, my old college roommate who now worked financial crimes. I'm sorry, Kylie, she said softly. But after what you sent me last night... Ryan's head snapped toward me, betrayal blazing in his eyes. You called the police? My own sister? I called them weeks ago, I corrected. When I first found evidence of the forgeries, everything since then has just been gathering proof. You planned this, he whispered. All of it. The dinner, the confrontation, Sophia finding the safe. No, Ryan. You planned this. Every lie, every theft, every betrayal. I just made sure you couldn't hide it anymore. As Detective Chen began reading him his rights, I saw Mother collapse into Father's arms, saw Sophia turn away, shoulders shaking. But it was Grandfather Tom's expression that hit me hardest. Not anger or disappointment, but a deep, aching sadness. Was it worth it? Ryan asked as they led him toward the door. Destroying our family to save some dusty old books? I looked around at the shelves surrounding us, at the legacy built on truth and hard work, not lies and shortcuts, at the family that needed to break before it could heal. The family was already destroyed, I said quietly. We just couldn't see it until now. The bell chimed one final time as they left, its cheerful sound a jarring counterpoint to the weight of what had just happened. And in its wake, we were left to face the pieces of our shattered illusions. 3 days after Ryan's arrest, I found Mother sitting alone in the darkened bookstore, holding one of the forged documents in trembling hands. The security light from outside cast strange shadows across her face, making her look older, fragile. Did you know, she said without looking up, that he started forging signatures in high school? Permission slips, report cards. I found them in his old desk drawer yesterday. I set my keys down quietly. Why are you here, Mother? The police called. They found more shell companies, more victims. She smoothed the paper with shaking fingers. They're saying 5 to 10 years minimum. The numbers hit me like physical blows. 5 years. 10. My brother in prison while his life crumbled around him. I'd wanted justice, but the reality felt hollow. Your father's meeting with the bankruptcy attorney tomorrow, she continued. We might lose the house. Everything we saved for retirement. Her voice cracked. How did we not see it? You saw what you wanted to see. The words came out sharper than intended. Just like you never saw me. She finally looked up, her eyes bright with tears. Is that what this was about? Revenge for all the times we favored Ryan? No. Yes. I don't know anymore. I moved to the window, watching rain begin to fall outside. I thought exposing him would fix everything, make you finally understand. Understand what? That I matter too. That this place matters. I gestured at the shelves around us. That success isn't just about money and status and keeping up appearances. The store's phone rang, startling us both. I answered it, recognizing Sophia's number. He's asking for you, she said without preamble. He says he'll tell the police everything, but only if you come. Mother watched my face, reading the tension there. Ryan? I nodded, my throat tight. He wants to confess to me. Don't go, she said quickly. He's manipulating you, just like he always has. But Sophia wasn't finished. There's something else. Something about Grandfather Tom's property titles from years ago. He says you need to hear it before the investigation goes deeper. My hand tightened on the receiver. What about them? He wouldn't say, just that it changes everything. After I hung up, Mother touched my arm. Whatever he's planning, don't let him drag you back into his games. What if it's not a game? What if there's more we don't know? There's always more with Ryan. That's how he keeps control. I pulled away from her touch, moving toward the office where Tom's property records were kept. I have to know. Kylie, please. Her voice held a note I'd never heard before. Fear. I've already lost one child to this mess. I can't lose you, too. I paused, hand on the office door. You never had me, Mother. Not really. I was always just Ryan's sister. The spare. The afterthought. That's not true. Isn't it? I turned back to her. Name one dream of mine you supported. One achievement you celebrated without comparing it to Ryan's. Her silence was answer enough. The rain fell harder outside, drumming against the windows like angry fingers. In Tom's office, the property records waited, decades of history that might hold more secrets, more lies. And across town, my brother sat in a cell, holding one last card to play. I need to see him, I said finally. Not for him, or for you. For me. And if it's a trap, I thought of all the evidence I'd gathered, all the careful planning that had led to this moment. Then maybe it's time to spring it. Mother gathered her purse, movements slow and defeated. At the door, she paused. When did you become so hard? I watched her silhouette against the rain-streaked glass. When you taught me that love comes with conditions. The bell chimed as she left, its sound lost in the storm. I stood in the darkness, surrounded by books and memories and the weight of decisions yet to come. Tomorrow I would face my brother one last time. Tonight I had records to search and truths to uncover. The rain kept falling, washing away everything except the choices that had brought us here. The visiting room at the county jail smelled of industrial cleaner and despair. Ryan sat across from me, orange jumpsuit hanging loose on his frame, dark circles under his eyes making him look like a stranger. Did you find them? His voice was hoarse. The original property deeds? I placed my hands flat on the metal table between us. Grandfather Tom never owned the bookstore outright. You knew that all along, didn't you? A ghost of his old smile flickered across his face. Mother and father owned 51%. Always did. Tom was just the figurehead, the friendly face of the family business. The revelation hit me like a physical blow, but I kept my expression neutral. That doesn't change what you did. No, but it changes what you did. He leaned forward, chains rattling. You exposed my crimes thinking you were protecting Tom's legacy, but you just helped our parents take complete control. They can sell now. Without his permission. My fingers curled against the cold metal. You're lying. Check the original partnership agreement from 1975. Dad's lawyer already has. Ryan's eyes held something worse than triumph. Pity. They're meeting with developers tomorrow. The rooms seemed to tilt sideways. All my careful planning, my righteous revenge, had just handed our parents exactly what they wanted. Why tell me this now? Because you're not the only one who knows how to plan revenge, little sister. He sat back, shoulders relaxed despite the chains. You destroyed my life. The least I could do was return the favor. The guard stepped closer, signaling our time was almost up. One more thing, Ryan added. Ask Tom about the fire in 1982, the insurance money that saved the store. There's a reason he never talks about it. I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the floor. You're just trying to manipulate me, like always. Am I? Then why did Tom look so nervous when the forensic accountant started asking questions? Ryan's smile widened. Some family secrets should stay buried, Kylie. You taught me that. Outside, the autumn air felt thick and suffocating. My phone buzzed. A text from Father. Family meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring the store's financial records. Another message followed, this one from Sophia. They're selling to Metropolitan Development. Ryan knew all along. I'm so sorry. The bookstore was dark when I arrived, but I could see Tom through the window, hunched over his desk. The bell chimed as I entered, and he looked up with red-rimmed eyes. You knew, I said quietly. About the ownership split. About all of it. He nodded slowly. I thought I could protect you. Both of you. By lying? By letting me think I was fighting for your legacy when really... My voice cracked. The fire in 1982. Ryan mentioned it. Tom's face went ash-grey. Some things are better left in the past. Like insurance fraud. The words hung in the air between us. Was anything about this place real? He stood up, suddenly looking every one of his 75 years. Everything I taught you was real. Everything we built together was built on lies. I pulled out my phone, showing him the developer's proposal Father had just forwarded. They're turning it into a parking structure, breaking ground next month. Kylie, please, let me explain. Explain what? How you used me. How everyone in this family is just playing some twisted game of secrets and lies. I backed away from his reaching hand. I thought I was getting justice, but I was just another pawn. Like always. The bell chimed again. Mother and father entering, followed by their lawyer. The same one who'd helped Ryan set up his shell companies, I realized with bitter clarity. Good. You're both here, Father said briskly. We can get started on the paperwork. I looked around at the shelves of books, each one carefully chosen, each holding memories I'd thought were precious. Real. Now they felt like props in someone else's story. Kylie. Mother's voice was gentle, concerned. Are you all right? I wasn't. Nothing was all right. And somewhere in a jail cell, my brother was laughing at how perfectly his revenge had played out. The family legacy wasn't just broken. It had never existed at all. The lawyer's papers lay unsigned on the counter when Olivia burst through the door, clutching a worn leather ledger. Stop, you need to see this. Father's lawyer reached for the document. This is a private family matter. Private like the real insurance report from 1982? Olivia slapped the ledger down. Or private like the second set of books Ryan kept for Metropolitan Development? The room went still. Tom gripped the edge of his desk, knuckles white. What is she talking about? Mother asked, but her voice trembled like she already knew. I moved closer to the ledger, recognizing Ryan's precise handwriting. He was working with the developers all along, wasn't he? Even before his business venture failed. Olivia nodded. Sophia found this hidden in their basement. The developers have been planning this for years. Ryan was just their way in. That's enough. Father reached for the ledger, but I snatched it first. No, it's not nearly enough. I opened to the marked pages. Look at these dates, the meetings, the payments. Ryan didn't fail. He succeeded exactly as planned. He was supposed to get caught, supposed to make the store look financially unstable. Metropolitan's standard procedure, Olivia added. They find family businesses, create internal conflicts, then swoop in as saviors with their buyout offers. Mother sank into a chair. Mark, is this true? Father's silence was damning. You knew, I whispered. You helped them set this up. It was a good deal, he finally said. The store's been losing money for years. Tom's too proud to admit it, but... That's a lie. Tom's quiet voice cut through the room. Show them the real books, Kylie, the ones you've been keeping. I pulled out my laptop, bringing up the store's true financial records. We're not just profitable. We're growing. Local author events, rare book acquisitions, community programs. The only reason it looked like we were failing was because someone was cooking the books. The lawyer cleared his throat. These accusations are serious. Not as serious as insurance fraud, Olivia interrupted. Or should we discuss how convenient that fire in 1982 really was? Tom stood up straighter. I set that fire. Grandfather, don't. No more lies. His voice was steady. I set it because Metropolitan tried this same scheme back then. They'd already bought out half the block. I couldn't let them win. And now? I asked Father. How much are they paying you to destroy what he saved? It's not that simple. It is that simple. I turned to Mother. Ryan knew what he was doing. Every fraud, every lie. It was all orchestrated to bring us here, to this moment, to this choice. She looked at the unsigned papers, then at Father. All these years you told me we were helping him succeed. We were protecting our investment, he insisted. Making sure the family legacy. Legacy? I laughed bitterly. The only legacy here is lies. Ryan's, yours, even grandfather's, but at least he was lying to protect something real. The developer's offer stands, the lawyer interjected, regardless of how we got here. Get out. The words came from Mother, surprising us all. Mark, you too. I need to speak with my daughter and Father alone. Father started to protest, but something in her expression stopped him. He followed the lawyer out, the bell chiming their exit. In the silence that followed, Mother picked up the developer's contract and began slowly, deliberately tearing it to pieces. Mom, I spent years believing in the wrong things, she said quietly. The wrong person, the wrong dreams. She looked up at me. Show me these community programs of yours. Show me what you've built while we weren't looking. Tom moved to stand beside her. We all have debts to pay, Linda. Maybe it's time we started with the ones that matter most. Outside the sun was setting, casting long shadows through the windows. Somewhere across town, Ryan sat in his cell, thinking he'd won. But as I opened my files to show Mother our real legacy, the one I'd been building all along, I realized that maybe winning wasn't the point. Maybe the real victory was in finally being seen. The autumn wind scattered leaves across the bookstore's new sign, Tom and Kylie's books, a family legacy. Inside, the evening reading group was wrapping up, their laughter and chatter filling the renovated space. That's the third sold-out event this month, Mother said, straightening a display near the register. She'd started helping part-time after Father moved out, finding her own kind of healing among the shelves. I nodded, watching the last customers leave. The community writing workshop starts next week. Sophia's teaching it. The mention of my sister-in-law no longer brought tension. She'd found her voice after Ryan's sentencing, using her inheritance to start a small literary magazine. Her first issue featured stories about family secrets and redemption. Tom emerged from his office carrying a familiar leather-bound ledger. Found something you should see. He opened it to a page I recognized, the real account of the 1982 fire. But beneath those entries was something else, a series of photographs. The store in its earliest days, my grandmother behind the counter, young versions of my father and Tom standing proudly together. Your father came by this morning, Tom said quietly. Asked me to give you these. I touched the photos gently. Why now? He's selling his share of the store to you. Said it's time to invest in the right legacy. The weight of those words settled around us like dust motes in sunlight. Mother wiped her eyes quickly, pretending to reorganize a shelf of poetry books. The bell chimed. Olivia walked in carrying a package. Special delivery from Ryan. My hands trembled slightly as I opened it. Inside was a stack of papers, all his correspondence with Metropolitan Development, dating back years. His confession, in black and white. He wants you to use it, Olivia explained, to stop them from doing this to other families. He said maybe that's the only good thing he can do now. I set the papers aside, next to the day's receipts and the flyers for next month's events. Evidence of destruction beside proof of rebuilding. Will you visit him? Mother asked softly. Eventually. I moved to the window, watching the streetlights flicker on. When I'm ready. When we're both ready. Tom joined me, his reflection overlapping mine in the glass. You know, revenge is a funny thing. Sometimes it gives you exactly what you wanted, just not the way you expected. I thought of all the ways this could have ended, with triumph or destruction, with complete victory or total loss. Instead, we'd found something messier, more real. A truth that cut both ways, leaving scars that might become strength. The evening reading group lingered by the door, their voices warm with connection and shared stories. One of them waved, a regular who'd been coming since I was a child, who'd watched our family drama unfold like one of his beloved novels. Next week's selection is interesting, Tom said, nodding toward the book club's choice. It's about a family that builds something beautiful from their broken pieces. Mother touched my shoulder gently. Speaking of building, I saw the blueprints for the cafe expansion. It's ambitious. Too ambitious? No. She smiled. Really smiled. It's exactly right. Later, after they'd all gone home, I sat at the register counting the day's earnings. Real numbers, honest success. The kind Ryan never understood, too focused on grand gestures and quick victories. A final customer slipped in just before closing. Sophia, looking tired but peaceful. She placed a copy of her magazine on the counter. "The advance reviews are good," she said. "They're calling it unflinchingly honest." I opened to her editor's note, reading the dedication. "For those who choose truth over comfort and growth over victory." The bell chimed one last time as she left, its sound echoing through the store like a reminder or a promise. Outside, the city moved in its endless rhythm, indifferent to our small victories and intimate wars. But in here, among the books and memories and possibilities, something had shifted. Not ended, exactly, just changed into something new. I turned the sign to closed, but left the lights on. There were still stories to be told, still chapters to be written. And this time, we'd write them together, in our own words, on our own terms.